In regards to the experiences that you had where you're seeing all the reptilians, what kind of impressions did you get, if you got any? Like, what did you, I suppose, take from it?
They
Can you ask him if he heard the commercial?
he did.
Okay.
Anyway, there seems to be many types of them, and it seems to me that I'm having little clips of experiences with the different types. I was, of course, very impressed with the last one, with the Elizabethan collar and the long coat, and where he resided. They usually, these three experiences that I had, they really didn't speak to me. Rebazar was beside me in the first one, where this one he looked similar to Yoda, not exactly, but similar if you do the tufts of hair and the color of the skin, but he was much bigger. And the other one, the thugs, Rebazar was standing behind them when I had that experience. I don't know. I don't try to have these experiences. It's just I start doing the new you, and all of a sudden I'm in that situation of looking at them and viewing them. A couple of them have talked to me, but that was the rust-colored one that was so dejected, and the lady who wears the New Orleans beads and lipstick. She's talked to me. In fact, she's been here during one of our programs, and she sat and listened to the new you and everything. So I think it's just I'm realizing that they're out there, and I'm getting to interact with them a little bit. Maybe there'll be more, maybe there won't. I don't know. As far as that goes, it's just kind of expanded my viewpoint of them and my awareness of them.
Sandy, I just want to make one comment. You brought up that particular identifying necklace or neckband called the Elizabethan period necklace.
Yes.
I don't know if everybody's been paying much attention to the Supreme Court lately, or a particular one, Ginsburg, but that's her necklace. She wears that all the time.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, well, she's one of them. We've been infiltrated at many different levels, and that's just one spot among others. And by the way, have you heard of the cayenne pepper for heart ailments?
Sure, I use cayenne.
Oh, good. A teaspoon a day in warm water?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, but sometimes I add lemon juice.
That's fine. You gotta something, huh?
Yeah, I gotta pump it up some way. Just plain cayenne. I've always liked cayenne. Always. Even my kids like it, so.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Have you heard that if a person is starting to have a heart attack and you shove cayenne pepper into their mouth, it'll stop them from having their heart attack?
Yes, that's exactly right. That's why it's also good to take periodically, just naturally during your weekly ingestion.
That's for sure. It gives you a kick. Yeah, it's good stuff for you. That's for sure. No. Do you want to talk about your dance? Or your dreams? Bob doesn't dance. He just dreams.
Well, I'm at a point where I would like to ask Dwayne for his input on what my dreams might mean. Are you there, Dwayne?
Yes, I'm here, Bob.
Last Wednesday, I dreamed I was at work in my tower, and the airport is set up to where there's a long runway that runs, it's about maybe a quarter mile from the tower, that runs right across in front of the tower. And then just on this side, the nearer side of the main runway, is a parallel taxiway that runs the full length of the runway, but it's a taxiway. And in my dream, there were low clouds, about 100-foot ceiling, and all of a sudden, a bunch of jets came in, and they did touch and go landings on the taxiway, and they were traveling at supersonic speeds, and they made a terrifically loud noise. In the airport, normally you have a safety area on the runway to keep objects away from the runway, so any airplane that gets off the runway won't hit anything. But on the taxiway, they don't have those clearances, and these high-speed supersonic jets right down. They came out of nowhere. Didn't know they were coming, but I saw them fly by past the tower, and right above the taxiway where they touched down and then kept going. And the airport had all kinds of materials for new construction alongside the taxiways. And so I called up the center who controls the IFR aircraft and told them about it, just to let them know so they didn't accidentally drift off the taxiway and hit the new construction. Then I woke up from that dream. So what do you think that means?
How many were there?
3 or 4.
Mm-hmm. What color?
It seemed to, well, it was kind of dark out. It seemed to me they were almost like military F-16s or F-18s or something. But they made the same kind of noise that those new F-34s make, you know, that are really obnoxiously loud.
And so when you're standing in the tower, which direction are they from you? Left, right, front? Where are they at?
They were flying left to right.
Left to right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something you know into the future. Well, and there was construction materials, things were going to be built also?
All around the taxiways. Like they put them out there getting ready to do a major construction project.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I see is kind of that it's a heads up to, you know, they're making a lot of noise, you know, like we are. And we're doing new construction all the time, so it's just kind of a heads up, isn't it? So again, looking at your last experiences last week with the depth charges and all that, in other words, the experience exaggerates itself. So, you know, you're able to see and recognize this, the presence of this. So, you know, again, it all entails what we're doing. More than obvious because they come out of nowhere and all of a sudden they're there and they don't quite stop. So again, it's like from the real side down. And if we use up and down, and again, yes, they're making their presence known. So something along those lines. In other words, it's a heads up. You know, these are little wake ups constantly, and everything that we're experiencing, just like Sandy's experiences there. You notice that Reba's are standing beside her. Then, you know, she's something's being demonstrated to her, and then the next scene is where Reba's are in back of the reptilians, and the reptilians are between her, etc. Something's being demonstrated. So, yes, you know, things are coming up. See. Things are you're seeing what's taking place and what's possible, etc. So, like Sandy's experience, I'm assuming that they were right in front of her, so that's present. So this is what's happening now. Yes, very, very real. So when we get a few minutes or you take a break, Claudia will share some things too with what we're doing with the Orions and the Syrians, etc. So. Yeah, okay, so I see, that's what I see. It's a heads up, and the construction material, again, it's the reason you're aware of that is because on the real side, you know, things first have to be done there. This is just how it is. Just like, you know, you think about building a house and then you do the blueprints. What you're seeing is the blueprints, first of all. And then, we're shown things, and then we decide if, we're going to experience that or go through with it or whatever. But first we do the blueprints. So yes, you're given a heads up there, and it's kind of noisy, so that really makes you pay attention, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was, you could not ignore that. That was impossible to ignore. Well, another dream I had the next night, I dreamed of where I learned how to parachute. So I wonder what I'm going to be parachuting out of or whatever.
But you've parachuted before.
I parachuted once. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Well, anyway, here's another dream, and I think this ties in with something else. I dreamed I was helping the refs at a football game spot the ball on the field. And then I realized I just needed to just let them do it themselves and just stand back and let the refs do their job. And I think that means well, there's a lot of things that happened this week. I finally finished reading all 9 new books this week. So I read the last one this week of all 9 of them. And after I finished reading that, and Sandy and I watched all your wake up call number 1 through 8 or whatever it is on YouTube. And I just finished it this week. And after I finished it, all of a sudden, my months and months of, I've always had a really high sense of urgency to go out there and save the world and do whatever I can to step up and do everything. And all of a sudden, that sense of urgency completely disappeared out of my life. And and my life just became calm and still and peaceful, and my attitude has changed. I'm just going to wait to be guided and being led rather than trying to go off on my own. And I think that has something to do with spotting the football on the field. It's not my job. The guys will take care of spotting the ball. I just need to just do my part, whatever that is. And so it's been a very interesting change for me this week, where I'm still going to step out and do my thing, but that overwhelming sense of urgency to help people before it's too late, that's all gone. I'm okay with everything now. So I thought that was a very, very big change for me. And it ties in with another dream that I had. Is I ran into this group of people that had a perfectly restored vehicle, whereas my vehicle needed some work, but could be restored. So when I ran into these guys, I had my car and they had their beautifully restored car. And I said, "You want to swap?" And they laughed and they said, are you kidding? No, we don't want to swap. And right after I said that, I looked at my vehicle, and then I realized it would take very little work to restore mine to the same condition theirs was. So I think those dreams and feeling all tie in together. So any comments on that?
Yeah, they usually do tie in together. And when you said you had an experience there where you're parachuted, well, what are you doing when you are parachuting? In other words, again, you had decided a direction and then you bailed out, didn't you?
Yeah, so changing direction there. Yep, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, in other words, when you're in an airplane, you decide where you're going to go. You take off and you go wherever, but all of a sudden, just from what you're saying there, you see that, the real you has the experiences to where, and again, the end result is, just, it's really a little transformation. Okay, so we change our clothes, but the change idea is very, very interesting, and it's kind of like your house. Are you going to change houses, or are you going to remodel it? So it's kind of a transformation. So I see that little part where you're parachuting. Yes, you can take that physically, but as soon as you said it, I saw that you're bailing out. You say, in other words, the old plan, you bailed out. You see. So you parachuted, whatever. So you were safe. Instead of just jumping from the plane, you had a parachute, but you bailed out. So you bailed out of the old idea.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So you're willing to do that, you see, and so it's demonstrated to you. So the football thing and whatever. Yeah, and I've gone through things like this in the past too, and that is that while I was in the corporation, I had this one experience where, because I was very adamantly sharing what I was doing, and rather fast forward with it at times, etc. And so there's one experience I had on the real side where I was just about to go into this yard. It had a white picket fence around it in this house, your typical little setting, well, whatever that is, a house, and then it's got a white picket fence in the front around it, and maybe the house is 20 yards away. Well, just as I started to go into the yard, the boys came along and said, "We'll handle it from here." See, so in other words, I do my part, which is to present it, and then they'll take care of the rest, you see. So I'm, basically to let them handle the rest, you see. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
yeah,
I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that. Right, finally.
Well, you do your part, and the thing is that this is where, again, we've seen people all of a sudden, it can be like Barton Carr or the other ones, whatever, all of a sudden they start to go too far. In other words, all of a sudden they're the center of attention instead of the bigger picture. So they're given an opportunity. Everyone is, like Darwin and Harold and anybody else, are given an opportunity, but it's what they do with it. It's whatever their flight plan is. And they start self-deciding. They don't see the bigger picture, the isness. You see, there is a difference, and it's very subtle. And so, yes, it really takes a lot of insight to see this and how it works, because that personal self starts to go fast forward. I know, I've been there, and I've hit the wall many times. And so, again, until you finally wake up and recognize it. So, yeah, you're seeing it. It all implies what you're saying and you're experiencing, because that personal self. In other words, we're taught to be driven here in some way, you see. And so what we've done is taken what we've experienced, and we drive with it. We push it. We keep pushing it. And it's not about the isness of the whole life, but it's a lot of sound good stuff, isn't it? But it really doesn't work. It just seems to work. You get certain agreement with certain people, so you think it's working. Tony Robbins is out there, and all these other people. They're driving this stuff. They're pushing this stuff out there, and it seems to work. But it has nothing to do with the isness. So there becomes the difference. But yes, there you go, Paul.